Welcome back to Reactioncast. It's your host, Jesus, aka Tyrant Dominus, and I'm here to give you another anime film review. This time around, we're going to be talking about That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, the movie, Scarlet Bond. Gotta love these titles. But I have talked about the show, That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. You can check out my review for those, but they are enjoyable isekai shows. But let's talk about this kind of... It's an in-continuity story, because the way I would say it is there's 2 seasons of the Reincarnated as a Slime show, and then there's like a spin-off kind of doing like the diaries, which is great. So having this film, Scarlet Bond, take place roughly right after season 2, and kind of what's going to be happening in season 3. The thing I've noticed with the Reincarnated as a Slime franchise is there's actually a couple other side stories, and I like how they're world building. And I think this film does an interesting take on continuing this world building in just this small amount of time. So it's like just under 2 hours long. You get Rimuru back and the whole crew. I will say early on, if it was starting to feel like it was going to be a bit of a jumbled mess, because it was like showcasing a lot of all of the favorites, which is fine. But sometimes it can get a little bit, convoluted with so many characters on screen when it's not enough spacing, when it's just a film. And we've seen other films where they try to like, oh, here's this character from this show or this episode, and so on and so on. But if this did a really good job showcasing certain characters. But we get introduced to a few new characters, specifically 2 people we are going to be following. We get, what's his name? Hiro, the quote older brother of the ogres. They made references to him in the show early on, but this is the first time we're seeing. We get a little bit of a backstory on what happened and what he was doing, and we get the queen in Raha, if I remember, is that pronounced correctly? She is the queen of this small little nation that's best known for exporting gold, and she's basically cursed. So Hiro, the ogre older brother, is kind of her like bodyguard and what is it? What's the word? Confidant, I would say, as she's ruling. And the curse is that she has to basically kind of sacrifice her life force to kind of purify the poison in her like nation because of all the mining stuff. So that's kind of the basic story. Like, we get to see the lost older brother of the ogres meet up with the rest of the crew, and like them all getting surprised. We get to see Rimuru try to help another small nation. So we get introduced to another nation west of the forest of Tempest, and it's interesting, and I like it. It's when it comes to like animated films, when you have a little bit more budget, you can see it, and it does show. Some of the action sequences are great, and it's just really well done. Now, what I'll say, the plot is, if you enjoyed the way the plots and how kind of the fun and seriousness of Reincarnated as Slime is as a show, then you'll like Scarlet Bond, because it has that same flavor. Nothing's too changed. You still get that intensity. You still get that charm of the show, with just a little added oomph to the animation during battle sequences and stuff like that. And the thing for me for this film that kind of, I would say, soured the note, because most of the film's pretty good. What soured was some of the the way the plot was like being laid out was a little bit like lackluster. Like it was nice, but it felt like a 6-7 episode arc, which was fine, but like the buildup was somewhat lacking, mostly for the finale. The finale is what kind of got me divided. Like it was an interesting finale, and I'm not gonna spoil it. It just it was very divisive for me, in my opinion, because it had this really like interesting high point, which like if you watch this film you understand, but then it kind of takes it back and then hits a new high point, but then it just gets dissolved, and I'm like, it left me wondering a little bit, and that's kind of what soured the film for me a little bit, because the rest of the film, like it was, like I said, it was like slow. It was a slow build to where we got in the towards the end, because they were introducing a whole bunch of cool new things. It was like basically world building, character development for certain characters. Not character development, but more introduction of characters that are integral to the world of reincarnated slime, which is cool. And you wouldn't need to you don't need to see this film to kind of get anything beyond this. I feel it's like this is just a fun in between, but it's cool to see certain aspects, but it's just, I don't know. What I wanted was a fun film with some interesting ploys and stuff like that, and I got it, but it kind of left me underwhelmed at the end. That's a way to feel. I felt it just, for a movie, it just didn't feel like it lived up to being a film. Like, I liked what they were trying to do. The story was pretty simple. It flowed like a arc of the show, but it just didn't have that gravitas that some films, or any type of like animated films, or just anything that has a show that does a film add on to it. Like, this just didn't have that just factor. Like, there were moments, but it just kind of, for me, it dipped a bit. But overall, I had fun watching it. Like, I was pondering for a bit, but like I said, it just, the finale for me just kind of like soured it a bit. And it sounds like it's saying it soured is like bad. It wasn't bad. It was just like, it just wasn't good. It's like slightly above average, I would say. So yeah, but I'm excited if they're still gonna be working on more. If this franchise is gonna be working on more films to kind of like just expand the world a little bit, that'll be cool. That'll be fun to see. Because yeah, just, you know, having that extra budget to animate some of these fight sequences are always great, because you just want to see like great battles, mostly with like somewhat overpowered characters. That's the other thing, is like the film sometimes just felt, because there were, you know, if you're already a fan of the show, you kind of already know how overpowered some characters are, and they're just like, I know things are gonna get done, and you're like, okay. It's just like, how? And yeah, there's some goofs and gaffs, and there's some giggles. Like I said, they made a lot of fun references and things like that to the show, to kind of like let you know, like, hey, this is where we're at in this point in the timeline and things like that. But yeah, those are my thoughts of the film. So I'm gonna give this one a solid 7. It's a solid 7 out of 10. Like I said, it could have been a little bit more. It just, the plot overall was pretty simple. It just didn't feel like a film at times. It felt like just like arcs of episodes like just tied together. There's another film that turned into episodes, Demon Slayer, which did a fine job making it feel like a film, but like Scarlet Bond just didn't do that for me. Like it just didn't fit. Like the upscaling to all the art assets were good, but it just like the plot wasn't just flowing for me. And then the finale, like I said, the finale was just so hit or miss. Like it was just like a little bit awkward. So, but I liked where some of the lore building was happening, which was like, that's what I like, oh, that's cool, I like that. But yeah, those are my thoughts. 7 out of 10. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Are you going to be watching it? Are you a fan of Reincarnated as a Slime? Let me know if you're interested at all down in the comments below. Or if you're listening to this on podcast, you can comment on Spotify and Anchor. So yeah, thanks again for listening or watching. Until next time, see ya. See ya. See ya. See ya.